Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios and brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Moses The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We're here with a terrific lady who's the author and founder of the Win Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit empowerment, and also her right living has been taught in over 60 countries. She's also been involved in Reclaiming Me, Transformation Travel TV, and also the creator of the International Feminine Boss Ascendance. So we'll talk about that. And she has a new book out, which is called Narc.tion.ary-The Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Dictionary. Of course, it's covering documenting 30 years experience in abuse recovery, beginning with her own traumatic journey, and we'll talk about that. Of course, highlighting a number of things and some words you may not even think about. And live, ladies and gentlemen, the Plus Studios in beautiful downtown Orange County, the amazing author and also the founder of the Win Foundation and her new book, Narc.tion.ary-The Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Dictionary. Ladies and gentlemen, the multi-talented Dr. Tracy Kemble. Dr. Tracy, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Mike. I'm excited to be here.
Well, it's great to have you on board, Dr. Tracy. So you're an author and the founder of the Win Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit specializing in programs of recovery and empowerment. You also have your right living has been taught in over 60 countries. You're also involved in Reclaiming Me, Transformational Travel TV, and the creator of International Feminine Boss Academy. And also you have a new book documenting 30 years of experience in abuse recovery, beginning with your own. And you have a new book called Narc.tion.ary-The Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Dictionary. Have about 350 words and something you may not want to use Scrabble for. And before getting into all that, Dr. Tracy, tell us how you first got started.
Oh, goodness. Well, like I said, I've been in the recovery industry for 30 years. And of course, I began my journey into the recovery world because I had to rescue myself from myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a heart and passion of mine to help people get to what I call the memos from normal land, to figure out how to do this thing called life, because it can be such an amazing journey, but if we don't have the right tools, it cannot feel like an amazing journey. So I'm just committed my life to making sure people get tools of empowerment in their hands.
And certainly do as well, too. And was that one precise moment that simply influenced you into what you're doing for the rest of your career?
Oh, I think that it was a combination of many moments. I think that one of those moments stemmed from deep pain. And, they say that the intolerance of your today is what creates your tomorrow. And I just reached that point where I either had to do something different or I was going to check out. And I found a different way to live, a different way to think, a different way to love, and including me and myself in the love journey. And that was a game changer for me. And all of my programs of empowerment and recovery are based on a steely foundation of self-love, which it sounds kind of dichotomous, working in the world of narcissistic abuse recovery, saying, wait a minute, you're healing narcissistic abuse recovery with the formula of self-love. And I'm like, yes, because the difference between narcissistic love and healthy love is that those of us who operate in healthy love, we have a sense of self-value and self-love for ourselves, where somebody who suffers from narcissism has more of a self-lover effect on themselves.
And of course, I was thinking about self-love as well, too. And maybe your definement of that. There's people who are taking self-love almost like to an insane level, and self-love also gets twisted around, especially in today's social media.
Right. Well, self-love is not narcissistic. And so if somebody is operating, self-love is the value for yourself. It's understanding, it's taking up your own space without apology. It's not needing, it's not needing other people's approval or recognition of you to have value for yourself, where self-love is something that lives within yourself. And I think that the other stuff, self-loverism, is based on the external acceptance of other people. Even though people might kick and scream and say, I don't need anybody else's 2 cents on me. Well, then why are you posting that to get your approval?
Or post on social media with all these memes on there too, independent, hear me roar and all that stuff. And I remember a cartoon on there. He goes, I'm an independent woman. somebody.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's an interesting world we live in too. You also wrote some books besides Narc.tion.ary. You also wrote How Not to Care What People Think, The Courage to Say No More, Empowerment is Sexy, Don't Touch My Tiara. And who are some of your favorite authors, writers, and growing up? And how'd you first get involved with writing?
Oh my gosh. I think I've always been I ever since I was little, the concept of writing, I'm somebody who can much more easily express myself in the written word than in the verbal word. Um of course, Elizabeth Gilbert, I love her. She's a great writer. I like a lot of self-help writers. I like a lot of the older writers. The older pieces of work, I should say. And so I just always felt that expressing myself through written word, I'm much more uninhibited. It
Mhm.
just I'm much more bold on paper, and when I speak and publicly, I tend to have a filter. I think about what I say, where when I write, it just comes out and expresses itself in exciting ways, hopefully.
Mhm. And then how often you keep a journal, and how long you've been journaling as well too? Because some people are into that and writing memoirs and everything else. And I've had guests on which specialize in memoirs. And how long you been journaling on this?
Well, my first book, The Courage to Say, I've always been a journal keeper, like my whole life. It just helped organize my thoughts and bring me to points of clarity. But my first book, The Courage to Say No More, was written based on my journals. And I was really glad at that time because when I sat down to write that book, and that was probably my first phase of ending abusive cycles in my life, is that because I had made so much healing progress, you forget the depths of where you used to be. That's kind of like the anesthesia of the brain that it doesn't want to remember trauma.
Mhm.
But the beautiful thing about having those journals at my fingertips was that I was able to open up the my own soul found in my writings and be able to reference back to my very wounded weak moments and be able to have a voice of healing based on where I was at that time, which the reason that that's effective is it meets people where they are at the
Mhm.
point of their sufferance.
Mhm. And you also went on to write some other books like How Not to Kill What People Think, and also Empowerment is Sexy and Don't Touch My Tiara. And you can briefly touch on those.
Oh, let's see. How Not to Care What People Think is such an important book. It's a very simple read. They're the four principles that all of us need to know about how to untether ourselves from the approval of others. And I really believe that when we have to reach a point of that book is really based on finding authentic love in life and how we need to be able to show up in our authentic self and not be afraid whether or not somebody likes it or approves of it or doesn't approve of it. When it teaches you the skills on how to show up as your authentic self, trusting in the journey that when you show up in your authentic self, the people who authentically love you will show up also.
Mhm. There's also been some confusion about authentic self on social media. You see always post pictures on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and everything else. Claim to be authentic self, but then there's also some questions about authentic self. And of course, there's also another thing that came up is like imposter syndrome. That's been a big one.
Well, imposter syndrome that's something that you see a lot in people who are in the self-help industry. And it's when they struggle with thinking if they're enough. Are they really the right person to be leading the troops, to be the guru, to be the go-to person in recovery? And I struggle with that a little bit because I think as an artist, you know your strengths and you know what you're talented at, but you're always, because you're an artist, looking to become better and more creative and more expressive. And for that angle of saying, like, is this my best work possible? Am I bringing everything to the table? Am I leaving everything on the floor and giving everything that I have? then when you question yourself, that's kind of the lane that imposter syndrome is meant to describe. My biggest concern is that over the years, I have my PhD in psychology, and I've spent 30 years learning the self-help industry. And my biggest concern that I see out there, and I've been also the recipient of it, is people who take minimal training or have minimal life experience, and suddenly they want to be your guru and they want to show you the way, the truth, and the light to your recovery. And I just want to, warn people that you're dealing with somebody's life and their livelihood if you're taking money for this. So there's no necessarily um, coaching police out there, but make sure that when you sign up that, you find out what that person's history is before you invest your time and your resources into having somebody guide you, because they may be an imposter, not suffering from the syndrome, though, if that makes sense.
What are some of the red flags that you're supposed to detect when it comes to all that?
I think authenticity. I think that, if you see somebody who, I think that time is super important, that, you have to look for the results. What type of results is that coach producing? And when you ask directly the coach, what results can I get if I join in this program? If they say, oh, you're going to feel better, well, that's not specific enough. You're going to be more empowered. Well, what exactly does that mean? Those are not specifics. So you want to make sure that that somebody can give you clear, hard, um, outlines as to how your life specifically is going to change if you deep dive into their program.
Okay. And also too, with the social media out there, with all the self-help and everything else, do you think that's helping with tackling the issues of narcissistic abuse, imposter syndrome, and everything? Do you think that's helping it, or you think it's also like, making it worse? Social media.
I think the biggest problem that I'm seeing, let me say the positive first. There are so many great recovery coaches out there that they know their stuff. And if you get with the right ones, again, you're going to see that there's a history behind them. There's a following behind, an authentic following behind them. And just their knowledge and presence online shows that they know their stuff. And they're great people. I mean, when I was in my recovery, I followed the best of the best. And so my hat goes off to them, and good for them. With the word narcissism, as people don't understand that you're dealing with something that's a spectrum disorder, and it's not like you either are or aren't narcissists. We all have a bit of narcissism in us at times, at moments, and it's a spectrum disorder, meaning it goes from here to here and all in between. People throw around the word narcissism a lot. Oh, he's a narcissist, she's a narcissist. There's a very big difference between somebody who's having a bad day and responding as a narcissist would, lacking empathy, thinking only of themselves, et cetera, versus somebody who actually has either narcissistic characteristics or narcissistic personality disorder, or on up the scale, sociopath, psychopath, antisocial personality disorder.
Mhm. And can self-centered be considered narcissistic as well, too, to a certain extent? And can narcissism be overall eliminated?
Well, I think that lacking empathy, meaning you don't have the ability to step in somebody else's shoes, is a sign of narcissism. Self-centeredness. Okay, they say that, when one way to recognize a narcissist is all roads lead back to self, or all conversations lead back to self. You can say, "Oh, this is a nice glass of water," and they'll say, "I remember the last time I had water, and and you can take any subject in the world, and somehow they'll bring it on back to self." So these are all narcissistic characteristics. Let's say we are not born with narcissism. Narcissism is something that is created out of trauma. And so can it be cured? Well, honestly, it can, but it's very difficult to cure narcissism because it's much like any type of an addiction where in order for the addict to get well, the addict has to reach that point where they say, "You know what? I don't like the way I'm living life. I need to make some changes." And because the narcissist has such a guard up against to protect their ego, they have a hard time looking within and saying, "I need to change." And
Mhm.
so it's a tough one.
And of course, it also detecting some of the words too in Narc.tionary, the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Dictionary. What are some of the terms? What are some of the key phrases, catchphrases to look for, and everything from Dr. Tracy Kemble? We'll talk more about that. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960 or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has got great reviews. And evil have been endorsed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for it goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com or 40 podcast platforms. Heard in 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, Apple Music, Odyssey, and also on BitChute and Rumble. Make sure you subscribe along with YouTube and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and more. And Facebook, make sure you take us with you on any mobile device. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas like T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and great books like Missing, Once, Wrinkles, and more, Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. We're here with author and also the founder of the WIN Foundation, specializing in programs, recovery, and empowerment, and also the book Narc.tionary, the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Dictionary. Dr. Tracy Kemble here on the Mike Wagner Show. Before we continue on with the book Narc.tionary, you also made a lot of accomplishments after what you went through. You became the founder of the WIN Foundation, and also your right living has been taught in 60 countries, and also involved in Reclaiming Me. And tell us about some of those. Well, I think we're on mute here. Okay, we're back on. I think you got muted. It's like, uh-oh, did some narcissist come in and try to shut you off here? Come on, what's going on?
I didn't. How did that happen? So the WIN Foundation is a nonprofit foundation that I started in 1996. We specialize in abuse recovery, and our cornerstone project is our Reclaiming Me program. And the Reclaiming Me program is a comprehensive 1-year recovery program for people who have been faced with narcissistic abuse trauma. It's run through the nonprofit. It's only $10 a class to attend, so it's super affordable, which was one
Nice.
of my passions. Yes, one of my passions, and one of the reasons why I did it is when I needed to seek help, the only thing that I found available was one-to-one, very expensive therapy. And when you're in a state of crisis, you can't wait, once or twice a month to get well. You need you need support as quickly as possible, and money should not stop us from getting quality support. So that's what the foundation funds. And we've been doing it for 27 years. We have 2 classes a week, which is on a Wednesday night and a Thursday night. In fact, our Thursday night class is going on right now as I speak. And we have not missed a single class in 27 years.
Wow, that is so amazing. And of course, you also have the International Feminine Boss Academy as well, and Transformational Travel TV. And I think we might touch those. If not, maybe just a bit about that.
So the Feminine Boss Academy and Society is the part two of the empowerment journey. And what we teach at the academy is we work with women and we teach women how to become, our slogan is how to become the boss of your being business with feminine energy. And so it's really about, it's an online educational platform that we have classes where we teach women, how to turn their daydreams into life realities and how to operate in a feminine energy, which the feminine energy is a formula that, the masculine energy says to do the work, do all the work, have the results, and finally you'll be that person. And the feminine energy says, no, first be that person, do the actions of that person, and have the results. So it's really about learning how to create your life and with effortless energy is what we like to say.
Hmm.
And that's the academy is international. It's wonderful. We have both live events, which takes place in our transformational travel. Our next event is taking place in beautiful Greece uh,
Nice.
in September. Yes, we have women from about 30 countries all over the world attending, and the theme of the conference is once again discover the divine. And we spend 5 days and 4 nights in the beautiful Greek Riviera, being empowered by women from around the world and learning just magical life tools to be able to create the life by design.
Hmm. And of course, not just 30 countries, but your right living program in 60 countries. I mean, what program do you have is doing like 90 countries, maybe 100 countries? Who knows? I mean, you got a long list of accomplishments.
Well, at my age, you end up collecting lots of accolades along the life journey.
Hmm. Certainly did too, and of course, you also collected some words in your latest book, Narc.tion.ary-The Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Dictionary. About 350 of them. It's basically yeah, there you go. You can do it all you want. By the way, I'm not going to stop you. So if you want to show it up all you want, feel free to do so. It's like you can do whatever you want. So it's not being self-centered. It's not being narcissistic. We want you to just show it up all you want. I mean, you got to say that. So let's show that off here. And basically, your book documents 30 years of experience in abuse recovery, beginning with your own traumatic journey, also giving voice to basically crazy making behaviors that imprison people in the cycle of narcissistic abuse. And of course, I mean, just cover a number of things, various debt, affairs, betrayal, chaos, and encounters with the Irish mafia. Oh my gosh, it's like, oh, how you like that?
It was a
Manipulation.
scary
Rain
time.
for hard. Yes.
It was a scary time. It was a very frightening time of my young life, and I life was brutal during that time. And that was all happening in my first round of recovery, I should say. And yeah, that's found in my book, The Courage to Say No More.
Okay, that was part of it too. And of course, you went on that journey as well too. And of course, when I saw chaos with the Irish mafia, they must have had too much six pack and a potato. That's what I was more thinking of. So
Mhm.
so we got that. So and also just has some words in it too. I'm trying to look through. I'm just giving you just a few of them, like say abuse amnesia, abuse by proxy, altruistic narcissist. Gosh, I'm tongue tied here today. Anticipated losses. Are you in bad faith? And maybe just a little bit about those.
Well, you're in the A section, and this is an A through Z dictionary. So let's see, which one did you abuse amnesia? That's a really good one. So what abuse amnesia is, it's a two-folded word, and in the book I break things down. Is it a word of abuse? Is it a trauma wound that results from being in an abusive relationship, or is it a recovery word? So abuse amnesia actually goes to both a narcissistic abuse technique as well as somebody who has been traumatized by narcissistic abuse. When the narcissist uses abuse amnesia, it's when they conveniently forget the trauma that they've caused, and there's, oh, I don't remember that, oh, that never happened, and they gaslight you, and they can just conveniently forget so that they don't have to take ownership of their actions. On the flip side of that, when somebody is verbally, emotionally, physically assaulted by another person, it's no different than what happens when we're in a car accident or something. When people say, do you remember the moment of impact? And people will say, no, I don't. It's because our brain, literally, when it gets too frightened, will blank things out, and it's for our mental survival primarily. And so what happens to many abuse victims, and it's one of the things that actually keeps them stuck in a relationship, is that if you cannot remember some of the abuses, you can remember maybe the broad strokes, but because narcissistic abuse is so manipulative, you can't recall it. And then when people say, well, what did I do? What exactly did I do that felt so abusive? And you just get this blank look on your face, and something bad was done, but you can't recall it because of the abuse amnesia. And that is why the many people, when they seek recovery for narcissistic abuse trauma, they will go in for treatment for PTSD, post-trauma stress disorder.
Mhm.
But narcissistic abuse victims don't have PTSD. They have something that is called CPTSD, and the treatment for that is different than PTSD.
CPTSD. So what exactly does that mean? CPTSD.
CPTSD stands for complex post-trauma stress disorder.
Oh wow.
And the what differentiates PTSD from CPTSD is that in PTSD, for example, we have a friend of the family who was in the Las Vegas shootings. And after the shooting, she had very bad PTSD. She got hit by shrapnel and different things of that nature. Along her recovery journey, when she was working with the professionals to help her or get through her PTSD, if she would have an anxiety side effect or a depression side effect or a powerlessness side effect, that she was able to stop her thoughts and the emotions going on inside of her and said, wait, I am afraid because on such and such date at such and such time, a such and such person picked up a gun and shot into a crowd, and I got hit by shrapnel. So there was lots of very tangible identifications that will allow you to heal. Somebody who has been the victim of narcissistic abuse, again, because it's so manipulative, because they punch your mind instead of punch your body, and they do it in such crazy making ways that you're not able to pinpoint exactly where that trauma wound hurts. All you know is you hurt. All you know is you feel powerless. And so there's a very unique way of handling the complex, the multiple levels of assault that you have been through.
And also we have some other words like altruistic narcissists. I think we might have covered that. Anticipated losses and arguing in bad faith as well.
Arguing in bad faith. Yeah, those are all big ones, and we could, spend a lifetime going through the book. But arguing in bad faith is a technique that the narcissist uses where there's never any resolve to whatever is causing the argument. First off, it's based normally in what's called a fight over nothing. That's also in the book. And a fight over nothing is just simply when the narcissist wants to pick a fight to be able to get fuel.
Or it's like yada 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 like that, like Seinfeld. What was like WWE wrestling or something?
Yeah, and there's never any resolve because you're really not fighting over anything. What the narcissist is looking for fuel, and if I tell my clients all the time, they say, and we never reach any resolve. We never reach any resolve, and I say, but that's because the narcissist can't reach resolve. Because if the narcissist reaches resolve, then there might be peace, and if there's peace, then they get no fuel. So they can't have the resolve. They have to keep things in a constant chaos in order to keep themselves mentally alive.
And of course, the one thing I could think of is, hey, the Rams won Super Bowl 2 years ago, and then he'll start arguing about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh! And I think I have some of that. What are some of the other common techniques that the narcissist can use, and also what is the one most not heard of that a narcissist can use?
Oh my goodness, that's a really good question. There are so many techniques in my program. My program has 6 different modules in it, and the second module of the program is called "What Happened to Me," and in this module, I identify 13 of the most common characteristics or shenanigans or abuses that the narcissist implements against another person, their target, and the side effects that it has on the victim of the narcissistic abuse. So and that was really important because people think that they're so alone and that they're in this crazy world, but it's actually quite predictable personalities, behaviors that they implement. I think that, I mean, the ones that many, oh gosh, there's so many that people don't know, but I think a big aha is more in the recovery journey, and there's something that is called an aftershock. And what this is when somebody has been in recovery for a while, that something will happen where all of a sudden they get really set back and they can't understand why they were set back. And the reason it's stemmed in the CPTSD, and it's when they're just cruising along in life, going about their business, and then something reminds them of a deep rooted trauma that they haven't yet recognized, and they will suddenly find themselves just slipping back into old thoughts and old behaviors. And it's called an aftershock, and it stems from the word aftershock, like an earthquake, where the when an earthquake happens, that trauma, we completely understand what happened, and that's the trauma. But after an earthquake happens, there's for months, if not for almost up to a year, there are these small tremors that keep taking place inside of you that can cause just as much damage as the original earthquake. And so aftershock is something that all victims of narcissistic abuse experience on their road to recovery.
Mhm. And also, what about, like, say, with Alcoholics Anonymous? You know how you, like, you slip back, or I'm trying to think, what is that word? It's oh gosh, what is this? Like, what is the name of it? It's like you're on a recovery, and all of a sudden you fall off the wagon. That's it, falling off the wagon. And it when they go through abuse like that, is it possible to fall off the wagon? Is that common, or is it something that can, rare and everything like that?
Depends on your personality. It depends on the levels of trauma that you've been through and how long you've been through it. Because recovery is not like a pill that you're going to take and immediately feel better. Recovery is an emotional muscle that you have to learn to use, and you have to use it again and again and again and again. And sometimes when we take it for granted, oh, I'm doing so good, or we don't see the narcissist coming because they are wolves in sheep's clothing many times, that we will find ourselves suddenly um, being, feeling crazy again, or the different emotions that give you the warning sign that something wrong is happening. So it's an emotional muscle that people have to learn to practice and practice and practice, and then you finally get good at protecting yourself.
Hmm. And also, and then how can people, recover and everything? Where can people find more information, classes, and everything else? Where can we find all your other works at?
Oh, thank you very much for asking that. So, a couple of things. First off, you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Tracy Kemble, and it's Kemble. My program is called Reclaiming Me, and you can go to my website. It's drtracy.tv, and that's Tracy with a Y. And underneath there, you'll see the programs, and you can learn about our Reclaiming Me program. Anybody who comes as a first timer is our first time guest. You can come check us out and see how safe and wonderful the classes are, and the community, and the privacy, and all the different things that is required to properly heal. And then after that, it's only $10 a week. Or if you want to join us in the beautiful Greek Riviera and dance with the divine queens, come join us there, and I'll be where you are on your journey of recovery.
We're certainly looking forward to that. What's come up for Dr. Tracy Kemble of Narc.tion.ary, the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Dictionary? We'll find out just 1 minute. You listen to the Mike Widener Show at the MikeWidenerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios, and brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Widener Show, international award-winning author Mia Molson's The Abyssing. We'll be back with author Dr. Tracy Kemble of Narc.tion.ary after this time. We're back with author Dr. Tracy Kemble of Narc.tion.ary, the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Dictionary, here on the Mike Widener Show. We covered a few words and also talked about some of the things she went through, the programs and everything. And what else can we expect from you in 2023 and beyond, Dr. Tracy?
Oh, well, my heart and passion right now is we are gearing up to start our own podcast. This is something that people have been asking me to do for years and years, and my schedule is finally opening up, and we're going to be taking a lot of this information and getting it out there in a whole new genre. We are going to be having more live conferences because, after COVID, I just think it's so important that people actually physically connect with one another. So we're going old school style, and we're getting together in groups, both locally as well as internationally. And so that's what you're going to see. And I have another book that's coming out at the end of the year, which I'm really excited about. That's called Miraculous Manifesting, and it's all about learning how to use the power of thoughts and energy, and combined with certain tools and behaviors to make your life happen by design quickly.
And certainly looking forward to that. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Who's my biggest influence? Well, my biggest, I did something early on in my career that I recommend everyone to do, and that is I've always had a mentor. And there are people that you wouldn't know, but there are people who took me under their wing and guided and directed me uh, to like how to do life. I mean, we don't know what we don't know, and so my biggest influencers in my life, as far as a career, are the handful of mentors that I have learned under.
Certainly indeed as well. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Self-love must be a non-negotiable.
I like that one. We'll keep that in mind here. Once again, we're with author Dr. Tracy Kemble of Narc.tion.ary, the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Dictionary. So I was founder of the WIN Foundation on the Mike Widener Show. Dr. Tracy, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. We learned a lot. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us. What's your website? How do people contact you? What can people purchase or check out your works, especially your new book?
Amazon.com, Narc.tion.ary. That's where they can find the new book.
Okay, and show us the book again.
This is the book. Narc.tion.ary, the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Dictionary. It has over 350 words and terms related to narcissistic abuse, narcissistic trauma, and most important, narcissistic recovery.
And once again, what's the website they can find you at?
drtracy.tv.
We will certainly check that out. Once again, Dr. Tracy, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love having you back. Wish you all the best. And Dr. Tracy, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you.